I want to welcome all of you joining us online tonight. I'm Marnie Hughes. Thank you for being here. We are going to take a closer look over the next few minutes at this week's missing case. It is a mother of 5 from Michigan who disappeared more than a year ago. And as we share her story tonight, I encourage you to join in this conversation. We want you to be part of it. I know you're going to have some questions. So if you have a question or even a comment about the case, this is your opportunity. We want to hear from you. So you can post your comments and your questions as you watch the story. Our team of producers is keeping a close eye. I'll pass those along as we're discussing this case. In this week's case, we're centering our focus around Dee Warner. She is a mother. She's also a grandmother, and she is deeply loved by her family. For more than a year, those close to Dee have been hoping for some answers about what happened to her and if she is still alive. Investigators say this case is far from cold. In fact, they have just formed a new task force to investigate. Dee disappeared in April of 2021, leaving behind her children, as I mentioned, her grandchildren, and a whole lot of questions. The 52-year-old was last seen at her home near Tipton, Michigan, about an hour west of Detroit. Dee's brother is going to be joining us live in a moment after the story to talk more about her disappearance, the investigation, and the person of interest currently in the case, according to police. First, though, here is correspondent Sloan Glass tonight.
My mom was a very outgoing, fun, life of the party type person. We were her world. Her kids were everything to her, and her grandkids.
Dee Warner, 52 years old, with 4 grown children, and another daughter from her second marriage to Dale Warner. She vanished April 24, 2021. Signs serve as a reminder around Lenawee County, Michigan, as well as this giant billboard. But Dee Warner's daughter says her mom and stepfather had been fighting a lot about their farm and trucking business. And on the night Dee disappeared,
I knew that they were fighting Saturday, and I knew it was going to escalate Saturday night. She told me that she wanted a divorce and she wanted to leave and she wanted to sell her trucking company and be done.
She made arrangements for her 9-year-old to stay with a friend. She says Dale admitted they fought, but said they had smoothed things over.
And he said that Saturday night she ended up letting him rub her back, and she fell asleep on the ground, and he picked her up and put her on the couch. I just knew that she wouldn't have calmed down enough to let him rub her back.
There may have been an argument of some sort. It was nothing out of the ordinary.
Larry Lieb represents Dale Warner, who police have labeled a person of interest.
Dale Warner has been opened. He's been talked to by the FBI, the state police, the sheriff's department multiple times. They visit all of his properties, his home, his office, his barns. They've even gone out into the fields with Sonic.
Lieb says Dale is innocent, and they've turned over data from his Apple Watch to prove it.
The biomechanics showed that he had no elevated heart rate, no elevated breathing, and the GPS showed that he was where he said he was, which was at home.
Lieb and Dale have an alternate theory and say this note, written by Dee and found in her nightstand, shows she was thinking about leaving. I know I have to make a change, it says. I don't know what direction it will be in, but I do know that if I don't soon, then I will wreck myself. I really want to love life again, smile again, feel love again.
He believes she always talked about going to Mexico or going to Jamaica, and he thinks that she decided to go where she would be comfortable and not be found.
He says they found records that show Dee was preparing for a while.
Dee ran the businesses. She diverted money to various accounts. She had an off-book bank account in which money was transferred to cash. We believe that she planned on leaving. She didn't tell anybody.
Dee's family marched the 1-year anniversary of her disappearance with a vigil in April. Bach is adamant her mother would never have left or stayed away so long.
I know that if my mom was still alive, she would have contacted one of us. She would have never left my little sister with him, ever.
The sheriff told us that investigators have searched several properties in connection with this case, more than 1,000 acres overall. They continue to follow up on leads, and he says they won't stop until they get resolution for Dee Warner's family. Marnie.
Well, and as the family wait for answers, this task force has been formed. Tell us a little bit more about what that entails and who's involved.
It is a joint effort between the FBI, the Michigan State Police, the Sheriff's Office. They're looking into new search warrants, and they're also using tips, information from the public, which is why conversations like this that are happening online with our NewsNation viewers are really helpful.
Right, so they want that information. This is far from a cold case, police have said. Sloan, thank you very much. I now want to bring in Greg Hardy. He is Dee's brother, joining us live. Greg, thank you so much. I can't begin to imagine the unthinkable pain that you all are going through with the unknowns about your sister. Let's start with what you believe is happening. And do you believe your sister is still alive?
No, I don't believe my sister's alive. There's been adequate evidence for a long time that she has been murdered, in my opinion. And she is, unfortunately, we've not been able to recover her remains.
What leads you to believe that, Greg?
Well, there's mountains of evidence that there was obviously a fight. My sister was a confrontational person. There's little doubt in my mind that her husband lost it in that argument, and things went really, really bad, and she was killed.
Tell us a little bit more about what evidence you all have. I know the family hired a private investigator. You have been working with police. They've formed this task force now. Can you give us some more detail about what evidence you have to back up your claims?
Well, there's a lot of evidence. I mean, more than we can cover on this program, obviously. I have had a number of detectives work for us and work for me over several months, more than a year that this began. And, if you take the obvious and just take a look at it, she was home alone with her husband in a dispute. There was no evidence of her leaving the property whatsoever, with no cars gone, no images of her on any of the security cameras on the grounds, no evidence from any person who was a friend, a relative, any kind of a contact that she'd known in her entire life. You don't just open up the yellow pages on Sunday morning and call somebody to pick you up. And there's plenty of evidence that if she were planning something like this, the so-called lawyer that was representing Dale Warner there on your previous tape, I mean, the guy is making up stories that are absolutely impossible to corroborate with anyone. And so there were only two people on the grounds the evening that she went missing, her husband and one of her employees for the trucking company who could possibly have cooperated with her husband.
Greg,
so there was no one else there.
Pardon me, I didn't mean to interrupt. Her husband, Dale, has said that he's not involved, that he did not kill her. We did speak to his attorney. For folks at home, I want to play a bit of that interview that we did not share in the story for folks at home to listen to, and you as well. And then I want to encourage people to join in the conversation. If you have a question for Greg, please list it below. Let's listen to Larry Lieb, the attorney for Dale Warner.
They have taken the liberty of placing yard signs all over town. They're really doing a good job of trying to tell their side of the story. It's really offensive, to be honest with you. It really hurts Dale because he didn't do anything wrong, and he feels as though he's being blamed for this. And it's very harmful to their daughter, who he has to constantly counsel that he had nothing to do with Angelina's mother's disappearance.
So two things there, Greg. He's denying that he had anything to do with it, and then he also brings up their daughter. First of all, your response, and then secondly, does he currently have custody of that little girl?
Well, there's never been any custody hearing of the little girl. She has just been kept there, and they've been unwilling to even let the little girl see her older siblings, or any other family members that, by the way, she normally saw on a daily basis. In regard to Mr. Lieb, the guy is a blundering idiot. His story doesn't hold any water, and he's provided absolutely no evidence whatsoever about the things that he claims that Mr. Warner feels bad about. Dale Warner has not spent any time, any money, any effort, and provided absolutely no evidence to corroborate his story that she just disappeared or she planned to escape.
He's claiming that there's evidence that she was taking out money, had some different accounts. Has that been turned over to investigators, to police who are working this case?
Well, they've been uncooperative about it being turned over. As you may know or may not know, there's been a conservator appointed to represent my sister. There's now been a second conservator appointed. And that first conservator was a CPA who went through the books in detail and didn't find that Dee absconded with any money, but what he did find is that Dale Warner absolutely took money from her company, DDW Investments, and transferred it into his name. I mean, Mr. Lieb doesn't speak about that at all. There was obviously an illegal transfer of ownership of the company right out in broad daylight before everyone, but yet we don't talk about that. He actually transferred debt from another company that they owned together into her singly owned company, DDW Investments, and basically bankrupted the company, then took the customer list from that company and started his own company, and then has now actually sold that company.
We did speak with the Sheriff's Department this morning. They said they have people working this case every single day. Do you get a sense that they're close to the clues they need to provide you and your family with some answers?
I don't get that sense. I do get, after reflecting on this for over a year and having plenty of professional people working on the case, and having worked on the case personally, quite frankly, it becomes very obvious that there are really three facets of this investigation. One is the authorities really don't have the evidence that they need. We have obviously strongly disagree with that. We have mountains of evidence that what we said took place, what I believe took place. Secondly, there may be a lack of either interest in getting it accomplished or incompetence. And lastly, you'd have to try to figure out a motive why they haven't acted further than they have. You have to even consider the issue of perhaps corruption involved here and why they have not acted on the information that they have.
I want to ask you a question that we got from a viewer on Facebook. Lori is asking, has the property been searched? What more can you tell us about your sister's home and the searches that have taken place?
Well, the property has been searched, but the problem is that, as I'm sure you know from the kind of work you do here, that the early in the investigation is the most critical time. And there's absolutely no question that the early time of this investigation was not handled as professionally as it should have been. And one reason it was not is because we tend to not give the emphasis on a missing person, particularly an adult woman, who may have been in a marital dispute, in the fact that they had a right to leave, or they wanted to leave, or they just wanted to get away from their spouse, for example. And then Mr. Warner's story, which was totally bogus, that the police, in my opinion, put way too much stock in, was the fact that he said, well, she's left before, she'll be back. It was almost like he was, so set on himself that no one could ever leave him, all right? I mean, it was just a horrible atmosphere that he created. And unfortunately, the early part of the investigation, the authorities bought into his story. His story was that she took her purse, took an overnight bag, took her quote-unquote curling iron, and someone must have picked her up. Those are quotes from Mr. Warner. And my question to him when he told me that story face to face was, okay, Dale, who would have picked her up? She didn't walk away. She didn't drive away. Who would have picked her up? And he's never had an answer to that question, or even a suggestion, by the way, of who might have picked her up. Since that was his story, he would have think he'd at least have someone he would suspect. So following his lead, just if I could, one moment, following his lead, which was very important in the early part of this, the authorities did not pressure him to find out who would have picked her up. And it just doesn't add up at all. And by the way, she doesn't appear on the security cameras anywhere. And it wouldn't have been like my sister if she were leaving to hide. I even suggested to Mr. Warner that if he suspected somebody picked her up, why don't we follow all the information off the GPS on her car and figure out who she could have possibly known that would have been willing to take that kind of risk in broad daylight on Sunday morning to pick her up while he was still on the grounds, by the way.
Have police corroborated the evidence, you say, the items that were missing, the curling iron, the purse? Was that part of the search, and what did they find when those two stories were laid next to each other?
Well, I don't know what the authorities found. Quite frankly, the authorities don't tell us anything. They keep everything close to their chest. All we know is what we've spent thousands of hours on and a lot of capital trying to investigate the entire case from the beginning to the end. And so we don't know what they found or what they corroborated in any way, shape, or form.
I hear you. I want to play another soundbite from Larry Lieb talking about a request for a search of the property. Let's listen.
Dale Warner has been open. He's been available. He's been approachable. He's been talked to by the FBI, the state police, the sheriff's department multiple times. He visited all of his properties, his home, his office, his barns. They've even gone out into the fields with Sonic. One of the times that they tried to conduct the search, they wanted to bring dogs into an area that contained fertilizer, very toxic chemicals that very easily could kill an animal. They wouldn't take their own dogs in there. Why would they allow the state police to take theirs? And Dale warned them of that. They chose not to go in there. They certainly could have gotten a search warrant and gone in and executed there. I mean, they've been to his property many, many times and have conducted about as many searches as they could, and Dale has never objected to any of them.
Your thoughts?
Well, Mr. Lieb is uninformed, misrepresents the facts, is nothing but a hired liar for Mr. Warner with a bow tie. The truth of it is that he discharged the police officers in the middle of the search and required them to go back and get a warrant that took them several hours to get back on the property. The fact is that the fertilizer barn, which I've been in many, many times, is not full of toxic chemicals. It's full of common fertilizers such as ammonium nitrate, potash. Those kinds of fertilizers are used routinely by farmers every day, and there is no danger to any animal going through there, particularly a trained police dog. Those are just untrue facts, nothing but a hired liar, like I said, who says he's a lawyer.
Greg, we've got another question for you. This is from Kalisha on YouTube, and she wants to know, what does justice look like for your family?
Arrest and conviction of Dale Warner.
Tell me a little bit about your sister, Greg, who she is, what your memories are.
Well, much as you played a part from my niece Raquel, I mean, that she outlined Dee completely. She was a gregarious type personality. She did love to be the life of the party. She liked to know everyone, liked to be involved with everyone. I would say that internally she was probably a bit of a person who lacked self-confidence, and so, but she should have had confidence because she was very good at meeting people and making people feel comfortable. And she, by the way, she deeply loved her family. People have asked me early on the investigation about her taking this hyenas like Mr. Lieb tries to explain, where she just wanted to completely start a new life and all of that. You know, I jokingly said it in the beginning, I still say it now, there's no way my sister would keep her mouth shut this long. And I mean that very respectfully. She could not ever have done this to everyone in the family. Impossible.
When was the last time you spoke with her husband, Dale?
Oh, it's been many months ago now. We communicated frequently right after her disappearance. We had always communicated frequently during their marriage. But it was a very telling moment. At about 7 a.m. on the 26th of April, he came to my office early in the morning. Remember, she went missing on the 25th, or was found missing on the 25th, came to my office. And it became an aha moment for me in the fact that one of the things that he began talking about was what a terrible situation she left him in, what she did wrong. She did this wrong, she did that wrong. He betrayed her horribly. Now, what husband on this earth who really cared about their wife would belittle their wife the day after they've been found missing? Would that even enter your vocabulary or your mind? It would be more like, where is my wife? Okay? This guy is so obviously guilty, it's unbelievable. If you actually knew all the details that I know and actually know his personality as I know it.
I sense your frustration, Greg. I've got another question for you from
Sure.
Angel online. She wants to know, are there cameras? Have they searched all of the areas where cameras would not detect anything on a property? Is there any surveillance that would have been helpful?
Well, there is surveillance, and it was commandeered, obviously, by the police department. My nephew, my wife, my son, and other family members reviewed the videotapes when they were first looking for my sister, for Dee. But now, interestingly enough, when they reviewed the tapes, and you were just coming up on the picture right there, there was a camera we just went by in your video that was on the side of the building. So imagine yourself leaving this home and not being able to be seen by a camera anytime, anywhere during that period when you're leaving. Why would that be?
Mm-hmm. In terms of her cell phone, credit cards, activity after the fact, was there any sort of digital trail that was helpful, offered any clues?
None. No digital trail at all. Her phone went dead. The last message I know of on her phone was a text message to a friend of hers around 10:59, 11 o'clock on Saturday night. And also there were text messages with the lady, her friend, who picked up Angelina at 7:43 p.m. And the friend's text messages I have firsthand from her phone, so I know they're authentic. But her phone, Dee's phone, went dead completely around midnight or shortly after, including her watch. And by the way, the comment made by Mr. Lieb about this watch of Dale Warner's, it wasn't even synced to his phone. So that's another one of these very poorly presented lies that this guy is presenting, trying to defend Dale Warner. These are not facts. This is just talk.
I know that you feel strongly that Dale was involved. Have the police ever indicated that there was any other person of interest, any other potential suspect in your sister's disappearance?
Well, that's certainly a great question. And the fact of it is I have approached the sheriff personally one-on-one, the detectives personally one-on-one, the prosecutor personally one-on-one. Everyone involved in this case, I've asked that very same question to. Because when I started my process of investigating this, I was completely unbiased. The last thing in the world I wanted this to be was my brother-in-law. The last thing. Now, wait a minute, let me finish the answer to the question by all of those authorities. Every single one of them has been, no, we don't have anyone else at all.
That is the person of interest tonight. Greg, I have time for just one more question, and it is this. How difficult has it been for you and your family, the unknown of where Dee is and what happened, for all of those involved, you, her kids, her grandkids?
Well, it brings new meaning to the fact that we've never experienced anything like this, and we know now how families suffer. And it's horrible. It's you talk about the crime is terrible. It's horrific. It's all those things. The seriously unknown part is how much it plays on the other members of the family all this time. It's causing them huge anguish because there's not being an arrest made and there's not action being taken here. So it is a horrible, horrible situation. I wouldn't wish on anyone else. I hope that if I ever get this over, I can help other people.
Well, it is painful. I hear it in your voice and in what you're saying tonight. Greg, thank you for giving us some time. I want to thank everyone online. And part of what we want to do is help your family get the answers that you so desperately desire. So we're going to continue to follow Dee's case. Dee Warner put her face on the screen for all of those involved. Greg, my best to you and to your family as you fight for justice.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your help.
Thank you. We'll be in touch. And as we mentioned earlier, there is a reward in this case. And if you have any information on the disappearance of Dee Warner, you can call the number on your screen to the Lenawee County Sheriff's Office. As we mentioned, there is also a task force involved. They are saying this is far from a cold case and still being investigated. Thank you again for joining us online, for being part of this discussion, and we will continue to follow this case very closely and bring you any updates as it warrants. Our Missing series is every Wednesday night. We cover different cases, but we can't do so without your help. A lot of our cases come from you, so if you have a case you feel that we should look into, send us a case, submit it on our website, newsnationnow.com/missing. I'm Marnie Hughes in Chicago tonight. Thank you. I'll see you next week.